Lixatara Station hung in orbit above the planet like a metal moon. It was old, built by the first council species thousands of years ago. It had never been designed as a military installation. It was a trade hub, a meeting place, a symbol of peace. Now it was about to become a battlefield. The Indomitable arrived first. Hyunwoo stood on the bridge and looked at the planet below. 15 billion people lived there. They had no idea what was coming. The council had not told them. They did not want to cause panic. The Allied ships are arriving, Daun reported. We have 12 vessels total. 3 from the Ven Collective, 2 from the Taylor Republic, 4 from independent colonies, and 3 more human ships just jumped in from Earth. Hyunwoo looked at the tactical display. 12 ships! Against what they had seen in the Lixar system. It would not be enough, but it was all they had. Open a channel to all Allied vessels, he ordered. His face appeared on screens across the small fleet. Captains of a dozen different species looked at him. Some with hope, some with fear, all of them waiting for him to speak. I won't lie to you, Hyunwoo said. What we're about to face is beyond anything the galaxy has seen in living memory. Our enemy is powerful. Our enemy is ruthless. And our enemy does not care about surrender or mercy. They only want destruction. He paused, looking at each face. But we stand here today not just to fight. We stand here to prove something. We stand here to show that when darkness comes, when evil threatens the innocent, there will always be those who rise to meet it. We stand here not for glory, not for honor. We stand here because it's right. Below us are 15 billion souls. They are someone's family, someone's friends. They have dreams. They have lives worth living, and we will not let them die without a fight. Today we make our stand. Today we show the galaxy what courage looks like. And if we fall knowing we did everything we could. Silence followed his words. Then one by one the Allied captains nodded, even the ones who looked terrified. Even the ones whose hands shook. They would fight. They're here, Da-Yun said softly. The alien fleet emerged from hyperspace. Not one ship this time, dozens, maybe hundreds. They filled the void like a swarm of locusts. Each one was massive, dark, pulsing with that sickly green light. Dr. Ji-Ho stared at the sensors. My God, there are so many. All ships battle formation, Hyunwoo ordered. Stay close to the station. Use it as cover. Focus fire on the lead vessels. Make every shot count. The 12 Allied ships moved into position. They looked tiny compared to the approaching armada. But they did not run. They did not retreat. They held the line. The alien fleet opened fire. Beams of darkness lanced across space. They hit the station's shields and began eating through them. The station shuddered. Warning alarms blared. Return fire, Hyunwoo shouted. The Allied fleet unleashed everything. Railguns, missiles, plasma cannons, energy beams. A storm of fire lit up the void. Some shots hit their targets and vanished. Others seemed to have no effect at all. But a precious few got through. One alien ship's hull cracked. Another lost power and drifted. We can hurt them, Dae-Yoon said. Not much, but we can hurt them. On the station, Chief Engineer Sung-min was working frantically. He had come up with a desperate plan. If they overloaded the station's reactor, it would create an explosion big enough to take dozens of alien ships with it. But someone would have to stay behind to trigger it manually. Sung-min knew what that meant. He had already made his choice. He opened a channel to the Indomitable. Commander, I've rigged the station to blow. I need you to draw as many of those ships close to the station as possible. Then get everyone clear. Hyunwoo's face appeared on his screen. Sung-min, you can't stay there. We'll send someone to... There's no time, Commander. Someone has to trigger the reactor manually. The remote systems are fried. It has to be me. Sung-min smiled. It was a sad smile. Besides, these are my engines. Nobody touches my engines, not even alien bastards from the void. Hyunwoo's jaw tightened. He wanted to argue. He wanted to order Sung-min to evacuate. But he knew the engineer was right. This was their only chance. Make it count, Chief. Always do, sir. Always do. The transmission ended. The battle raged. Ships on both sides were dying. One of the Ven Collective vessels exploded. Then a Taylor ship. The Indomitable took hit after hit. Hull breaches opened. Fires broke out. But they kept fighting. Ensign Bora launched in her fighter again. She led a squadron of 6 ships on a desperate attack run. They dove straight into the alien formation, firing everything they had. 3 fighters were destroyed immediately. But Bora and the remaining two made it through. They damaged 2 more alien ships before pulling back. More enemy ships incoming, Daeyeon warned. They're converging on the station. Hyunwoo watched as dozens of alien vessels moved toward Lixtara Station. They were taking the bait. All ships fall back. Get clear of the station, now! The Allied fleet retreated. The alien ships swarmed around the station, preparing to destroy it. They did not know what was waiting for them. On the station, Sungmin stood alone in the reactor room. His hands moved across the controls one last time. The reactor was overloading. Critical mass in 10 seconds. He thought about Earth, he thought about his family. He thought about the Indomitable and the crew he had served with. Not bad for a grumpy old engineer, he whispered. The station exploded. The blast was apocalyptic. A miniature star was born and died in an instant. The shockwave expanded in all directions, vaporizing everything in its path. 43 alien ships were destroyed instantly. Dozens more were crippled. On the Indomitable, the crew watched in stunned silence. Even through the shields, they felt the heat of the explosion. He did it, Daeyeon whispered. He actually did it. The alien fleet was in chaos. For the first time, they had suffered real losses. For the first time, they seemed uncertain. And then, like a gift from heaven, new ships appeared. Hundreds of them. The Council fleet had arrived. Led by Admiral Haewon and Earth's main battle group, ships from every major Council species filled the void. The tide turned. With fresh forces and new tactics learned from the Indomitable's experience, the combined fleet pushed back. The alien ships, for all their power, could not withstand the full might of the galaxy. One by one, they were destroyed or driven back. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it finally ended, the alien fleet was gone. The surviving ships had retreated into deep space. Lixtara was saved. 15 billion lives spared, but the cost had been high. 8 of the 12 original Allied ships were destroyed. Thousands of crew members were dead. Chief Engineer Sungmin Choi was gone. The Indomitable was so badly damaged it could barely move. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council held a memorial service on Zentera Prime. Representatives from every species attended. They honored the fallen. They honored the brave. And they honored humanity. High Arbiter Velshara spoke before the assembled council. For too long we dismissed Earth as primitive, as dangerous, as unworthy of standing among us. We were wrong. When darkness came, when our civilization faced extinction, it was humanity who stood first. It was humanity who fought hardest. It was humanity who showed us that courage is not about the weapons you carry, but the willingness to use them for others. She turned to Hyunwoo, who stood in his dress uniform, and bowed deeply. A human gesture, but one she had learned for this moment. Commander Kim, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally apologize for our treatment of your species. Earth is no longer on probation. You are full members of this council, and we are honored to call you allies. Hyunwoo bowed back. We did what anyone would do. We protected the innocent. Ambassador Thalric stepped forward. I was there when the humans first arrived at that research station. I was terrified of them then. I saw their violence, their weapons, their willingness to destroy. But now I understand. They do not fight because they love violence. They fight because they love life, all life. And that is why, despite everything I saw, I trust them completely. In the months that followed, the galaxy changed. The Council was reorganized. New defense fleets were formed. Species that had not fought in millennia began training soldiers again, and at the center of it all was Earth. Humanity became the galaxy's military experts, the ones who trained others in the art of war they hoped would never be needed again. Hyunwoo was promoted to admiral and given command of a joint human-alien fleet. Daeyeon became captain of a new Earth battleship. Dr. Jiho continued his work as a diplomat, helping to rebuild trust between species. Bora became a flight instructor, teaching a new generation of pilots. The alien threat, which became known as the Voidborn, had retreated, but not disappeared. They were still out there, in the dark spaces between stars. But now the galaxy was ready. Now the galaxy was united, and now the galaxy had learned an important lesson. Peace is precious. But peace must be defended. 1 year after the Battle of Lixtara, a new ship launched from Earth orbit. It was the biggest vessel humanity had ever built. A dreadnought, designed to protect not just Earth but all the free peoples of the galaxy. On its hull in letters 10 meters tall was its name, UES Unity. Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood on its bridge as it left Earth behind. He looked at the crew around him. Humans, Ven, Taylor, Astran, a dozen different species, working together, fighting together, living together. Commander Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable and stared at the endless darkness of space. Stars glittered like tiny diamonds against the black canvas. He had seen this view 1,000 times, but it never became ordinary. Out here, at the edge of the galaxy, humanity was alone. The nearest friendly port was weeks away. The nearest council station was even farther. The Indomitable was Earth's first deep space military ship. It was not the biggest vessel in the galaxy, not even close, but it was strong. It was fast, and it carried weapons that made other species nervous. Humans had only joined the Galactic Council 3 years ago, and already most aliens thought Earth was dangerous. Hyunwoo did not care what they thought. His job was simple: patrol the outer rim, protect human interests, and stay out of trouble. The Council had made it very clear that Earth was on probation. One mistake and humanity would be kicked out of galactic society forever. Behind him, the bridge crew worked quietly. Lieutenant Da-Yun Park sat at the tactical station, her eyes locked on the sensor screens. She was young, barely 30, but she had the sharpest mind Hyunwoo had ever seen. Her fingers moved across the controls with practiced ease. To his left, Dr. Ji-Ho Lee was reviewing reports from the science lab. The old man had gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 40 years studying alien cultures, and he believed that peace was always possible. Hyunwoo respected him, but he did not always agree with him. Chief Engineer Sung-Min Choi was somewhere below deck, probably arguing with the engine crew again. Sung-Min was a genius, but he had a terrible temper. He treated the Indomitable's reactor like it was his own child. Everything was calm. Everything was routine. Then the alarm went off. Da-Yun's head snapped up. Her fingers flew across her console. Red lights flashed across the tactical display. "Commander, I'm picking up a distress signal," she said. Her voice was steady, professional. "It's coming from a council research station. Distance 40,000 kilometers. Hyunwoo turned toward her. "What kind of distress?" "Attack. The message says they're under attack by unknown hostiles. They're requesting immediate assistance." Da-Yun paused. "Sir, the signal is weak. They might not have much time." Dr. Ji-Ho stood up quickly. His chair scraped against the floor. "We need to respond immediately." "Wait," Hyunwoo said. He did not move. His mind was already working through the options. "Da-Yun, where are the nearest council ships?" She checked her screens. "The closest council patrol is 4 days away. They've been notified, but they can't get here in time." 4 days, Ji-Ho repeated. His voice rose. "Those people will be dead in 4 hours. We have to go now." Hyunwoo looked at the old scientist. "Our orders are clear, Doctor. We are restricted to patrol zones only. That research station is outside our assigned area." "To hell with orders." Ji-Ho's face turned red. "People are dying." "If we respond, we could start a diplomatic incident. Earth could lose its council membership." "Do you understand what that means?" Hyunwoo kept his voice calm, but inside his heart was pounding. He knew what he wanted to do. He also knew what he should do. They were not the same thing. Da-Yun spoke quietly. "Sir, the station has 73 people on board. Mixed species, civilians, scientists." She looked up at him. "If we don't go, they all die." Hyunwoo closed his eyes for just a moment. He thought about Earth. He thought about his orders. He thought about the people on that station who had minutes to live. Then he opened his eyes and made his decision. Change course. Maximum speed. "Get us to that station now." Da-Yun smiled. "Yes, sir." The Indomitable turned. Its engines roared to life. The ship cut through space like a knife through water. Hyunwoo felt the vibration through the deck plates. Somewhere below, Sung-Min would be cursing him for pushing the engines so hard. 20 minutes later, they arrived. The research station was a wreck. Huge pieces of metal floated in the void. Bodies drifted among the debris. The station's main hull had been torn open like paper. Fires burned inside, somehow still alive in the vacuum. "My God," Ji-Ho whispered. Da-Yun's fingers moved rapidly. "Sir, I'm detecting 3 ships. They're still here. They're Krall Dominion vessels." Hyunwoo felt his stomach tighten. The Krall were pirates. They were brutal, violent, and they had no respect for council law. They raided weak targets and disappeared before help could arrive. They were cowards who preyed on the helpless. "They've seen us," Da-Yun reported. "They're hailing us." "Put them on screen." The main display flickered. A face appeared. It was not human. The creature had dark green skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. It smiled, and the smile was not friendly. "A human ship," the crawl commander said. His voice was rough like grinding stones. "How interesting. I have heard about your kind. You are the new species, the weak ones, the primitives." Hyunwoo kept his face blank. "I am Commander Hyunwoo Kim of the United Earth ship Indomitable. You have attacked a council research station. That is a violation of galactic law." "Stand down immediately," the crawl laughed. It was a horrible sound. "Galactic law? There is no law out here, human. There is only strength. And you are weak." He leaned forward. "I will give you one chance. Leave now or we will destroy you just like we destroyed them." Jiho grabbed Hyunwoo's arm. "Commander, please. We should leave. We can report this. The council will send proper forces." Hyunwoo looked at the screen. He looked at the broken station. He looked at the bodies floating in space. Then he looked at the crawl commander. "No," Hyunwoo said softly. "We're not leaving." The crawl's smile grew wider. "Then you will die." The transmission ended. The bridge was silent. Hyunwoo turned to Da-eun. "Battle stations. Charge all weapons. Raise shields," alarms blared. Red lights bathed the bridge. The crew moved with speed and precision. This was the moment they had trained for. This was the moment Earth had prepared them for. The 3 crawl ships turned toward the Indomitable. They were bigger. They were faster. They had better shields. On paper, the Indomitable had no chance. But the crawl did not know one thing about humans. They did not know that Earth had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war. They did not know that every human ship carried weapons designed to kill. They did not know that humanity never ever backed down from a fight. Hyunwoo sat down in his command chair. He took a deep breath. His voice was calm, cold, and absolutely certain. All weapons. Fire at will. The Indomitable opened fire, and the galaxy would never be the same. The first railgun shot crossed the distance in less than a second. The tungsten round, moving at a fraction of light speed, hit the lead crawl ship's shields and went straight through them like they were made of paper. The round punched into the hull, tore through 3 decks, and exploded out the other side. On the crawl bridge, alarms screamed. The commander stared at his screens in disbelief. His shields had not stopped the attack. They had not even slowed it down. That was impossible. Energy weapons could be blocked by shields. Everyone knew that. But this was not an energy weapon. "Return fire," he screamed. The 3 crawl ships opened up with everything they had. Brilliant beams of plasma lanced across space. They struck the Indomitable's shields and began to burn through. On the human ship, Da-eun watched her shield status drop rapidly. "Shields at 70%, she reported. "They're focusing fire on our port side. Rotate the ship. Keep fresh shields facing them," Hyunwoo ordered. "Continue firing. Target their engines." The Indomitable spun on its axis. More railgun rounds hammered into the crawl ships. One round hit a second ship's engine pod. The explosion was spectacular. The ship lost power and began to drift. Dr. Jiho gripped the railing on the bridge. His knuckles were white. He had never been in combat before. The violence was overwhelming. Every time the ship fired, he felt it in his bones. Every time they were hit, the whole bridge shook. "Commander," Da-eun said, "I have a firing solution on their flagship. Requesting permission to launch missiles." "Granted. Fire all tubes." 6 missiles erupted from the Indomitable's launch tubes. They were not like the elegant guided weapons most species used. These were crude, ugly things, but each one carried a nuclear warhead with a yield of 50 megatons. The crawl tried to shoot them down. Energy beams lanced out, destroying 3 missiles. But the other 3 kept coming. They impacted the flagship's shields almost simultaneously. The explosions were silent in the vacuum of space, but they were devastating. Nuclear fire washed over the crawl ship. Its shields flickered, overloaded, and died. The hull began to glow red-hot. Atmosphere vented from dozens of breaches. On the Indomitable, Ensign Bo-Ra Han sat in the pilot seat of a fighter craft. She was 24 years old, and this was her first real combat mission. Her hands shook slightly as she waited for orders. Da-eun's voice came through her helmet. "Fighter Squadron, you are cleared for launch. Target the damaged flagship. Destroy its weapon systems." "Acknowledged," Bo-Ra said. She pushed the throttle forward. Her fighters shot out of the Indomitable's hangar bay. 5 other fighters followed her. Space combat was nothing like the simulations. Everything happened too fast. The crawl ships were enormous up close. Their weapons fire filled the void with deadly light. Bora's training took over. She did not think. She just flew. Her squadron dove toward the crawl flagship. Point defense guns tracked them, firing continuously. One fighter exploded in a ball of fire, then another. Bora's heart hammered in her chest, but she did not stop. She could not stop. "This is for the research station," she whispered. She fired her missiles at point-blank range. They streaked into the crawl ship's weapon ports and detonated deep inside. Secondary explosions rippled across the hull. The flagship's main guns went silent. "Good hit." Dayun's voice crackled over the radio. "All fighters return to ship." "You did it." Bora pulled up hard. Her fighter's engines screamed. She looked back at the crawl flagship. It was dying. She had done that. A strange mixture of pride and horror filled her chest. On the crawl flagship, the commander knew he was beaten. His ship was crippled. His engines were gone. His weapons were offline. Half his crew was dead, and the human ship was still fully operational. How had this happened? The humans were supposed to be weak. They were primitives. Everyone said so. Their technology was inferior. Their ships were small. But they had destroyed his fleet in minutes. He opened a communication channel. "Human ship. We surrender. We surrender." On the Indomitable's bridge, Hyunwoo heard the transmission. He looked at the tactical display. The crawl flagship was finished. The second ship was drifting powerless. The third ship was trying to run. "Dayun, stop that third ship before it reaches jump distance." "Yes, sir." Her fingers danced across the controls. More railgun rounds tore through space. They caught the fleeing crawl ship and shredded its engines. The ship tumbled out of control. Hyunwoo stood up. His legs felt weak, but he did not let it show. "Cease fire. All weapons hold." The bridge fell silent. The battle was over. It had lasted less than 10 minutes. Dr. Jiho slowly released his grip on the railing. His hands were shaking. That was war, Doctor," Hyunwoo said quietly. "That's what we're good at." Dayun checked her sensors. "Sir, I'm detecting life signs on the research station. There are survivors in a sealed section, maybe 20 people. Send rescue teams immediately, and get me Chief Engineer Sungmin." A moment later, Sungmin's face appeared on a screen. He looked angry, which was normal for him. "What the hell were you thinking, Commander? You pushed my engines to 120%. You could have blown us all up." Hyunwoo almost smiled. "But you didn't let that happen, did you, Chief?" Sungmin grunted. "No, of course not. These are my engines. Nobody breaks my engines." He paused. "We won?" "We won." "Good. Next time, warn me before you start a war." The screen went black. 2 hours later, the rescue was complete. 23 survivors had been pulled from the wreckage of the research station. Most were injured, but they would live. Among them was Ambassador Thalrix of the Ven Collective, an insectoid alien with silver exoskeleton and large compound eyes. Thalrix was brought to the Indomitable's medical bay. Dr. Jiho met him there. The ambassador's body trembled. His species did not show emotion the way humans did, but Jiho could tell the alien was traumatized. "Ambassador," Jiho said gently, "you're safe now. The crawler gone." Thalrix's mandibles clicked together. When he spoke, his voice was thin and reedy. "I saw what your ship did. I watched the battle. You destroyed them so easily, so quickly, so violently." Jiho did not know what to say. "We had no choice. They were killing innocent people." "I know," Thalrix said, "and I am grateful. You saved my life. You saved all of us. But I am also terrified. The Council thinks Earth is dangerous. After today, after what I saw, I think they might be right. But perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needs." News of the battle spread quickly. Within hours, every Council station in the sector knew that a human ship had defeated 3 crawl raiders. Within days, the story reached the inner systems. Within a week, the entire galaxy was talking about Earth. Some species called humanity heroes. Others called them dangerous. But everyone agreed on one thing. Earth could no longer be ignored. On the Indomitable, Hyunwoo received an encrypted transmission from Earth Command. His face grew grave as he read it. Dayun noticed the change. "Sir, what is it?" Hyunwoo looked up at her. "The Galactic Council has summoned us. We're ordered to report to Zentara Prime immediately. They're convening an emergency session." He paused. "They're going to decide humanity's fate." Da-Un felt her stomach tighten. What do you think they'll decide? I don't know, Hyunwoo said honestly. But we did what was right. Whatever happens next, we can face it with our heads held high. The Indomitable set course for the council capital. Behind them, the wreckage of the Crawl fleet drifted in silent testimony to what happens when someone underestimates humanity. The galaxy had just learned a hard lesson. Humans were not weak. Humans were not primitives. And humans would fight for what was right, no matter the cost. Zentara Prime was the most beautiful planet Hyunwoo had ever seen. 3 moons hung in its sky. Crystal towers rose from floating islands. Rivers of light flowed between the buildings. This was the capital of the Galactic Council, home to thousands of alien species and the center of civilization for 100,000 years. The Indomitable descended through the atmosphere carefully. Fighter escorts from a dozen different species surrounded them. Hyunwoo understood the message. They were not trusted. They were not welcome. They were prisoners, even if nobody said it out loud. Daeun sat at her station, watching the escort fighters nervously. Sir, if this goes badly, we won't make it out of the system. Then we better make sure it doesn't go badly, Hyunwoo replied. They landed at the council spaceport. Ambassador Young-Soo Shin was waiting for them. The old diplomat looked exhausted. He had been Earth's representative to the council for 5 years, and those years had aged him badly. His hair was completely gray now and deep lines marked his face. Commander Kim, Young-Soo said. His voice was tight. Do you have any idea what you've done? The council is in chaos. Half of them want to give you a medal. The other half want to arrest you. We saved innocent lives, Hyunwoo said. I know that. You know that. But the council doesn't care about what you meant to do. They care about what you did. You engaged in combat without authorization. You used nuclear weapons. You showed the entire galaxy that Earth is exactly as dangerous as they feared. Dr. Jiho stepped forward. Ambassador, with respect, what were we supposed to do? Let those people die? Young-Soo closed his eyes briefly. I don't know, Doctor. I truly don't know. But we're about to face the consequences. The trial begins in 2 hours. The entire council will be there. It will be broadcast across the galaxy. Everyone will be watching. The council chamber was enormous. It was built like an amphitheater, with thousands of seats rising up in circular tiers. Each seat held a representative from a different species. Hyunwoo had never seen so many different forms of life in one place. There were creatures with scales, creatures with fur, creatures made of crystal, creatures that floated in tanks of liquid. The diversity was overwhelming. At the center of it all was a raised platform. That was where Hyunwoo stood now, alone, surrounded by thousands of alien eyes. Daeun and Jiho sat in a viewing section reserved for humans. Young-Soo stood nearby, ready to speak if needed. High Arbiter Velshara presided over the council. She was from the Astran Federation, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Her body was tall and thin, almost like a living statue made of white stone. Her voice, when she spoke, resonated through the chamber without needing amplification. This council is now in session. We are here to judge the actions of Commander Hyunwoo Kim and the human vessel Indomitable. Commander, you are accused of unauthorized military action, excessive use of force, and violation of council territorial agreements. How do you answer these charges? Hyunwoo took a deep breath. His voice was steady. I answer that I did what was necessary to save innocent lives. A murmur ran through the chamber. Velshara raised one long hand and silence fell. The council will hear testimony, she said. We will begin with Ambassador Thalrix of the Ven Collective, who was present at the research station. Thalrix entered the chamber. The insectoid alien moved slowly, still recovering from his injuries. He stood before the council and spoke in his thin, reedy voice. I was on that station when the Crawl attacked. They showed no mercy. They killed everyone they could find. My colleagues, my friends. We were helpless. We sent distress signals, but we knew the council forces could not arrive in time. We were ready to die, he paused. Then the human ship came. They saved us. They fought the Crawl without hesitation, without fear. Yes, their methods were violent. Yes, their weapons were terrible. But they saved 23 lives that day, my life. I will forever be grateful. More murmurs. Some council members seemed moved by Thalrix's words. Others looked unmoved. Then Councillor Draxnor rose to speak. He was from the Hegemony, a militaristic species that controlled a significant portion of council space. His body was covered in dark armor-like skin and his eyes glowed red. High Arbiter, this human speaks of saving lives. But what about the lives his species has taken? Let us show the Council the truth about Earth. The main screen activated. Images appeared. Terrible images. Wars throughout human history. Ancient battles with swords and spears. Modern wars with tanks and bombers. Cities in ruins. Bodies in the streets. The mushroom clouds of nuclear weapons. The Council watched in horrified silence. Many species in the chamber had not fought a war in thousands of years. They had forgotten what violence looked like. To them, these images were nightmarish. "This is humanity," Draxnor said. "This is what they are. They are a species born in blood. They have never known true peace. They cannot be trusted. They are too dangerous to remain in this council." In the viewing section, Dayun felt sick. She wanted to defend her species, but how could she? Everything Draxnor said was true. Humanity's history was violent. Hyunwoo stood alone on the platform. He looked at the images. He looked at the council. Then he spoke. "Everything you just saw is true. Humanity has a violent past. We have fought wars for land, for resources, for ideas, for reasons that seem stupid now. We have made terrible mistakes. We have done terrible things." He paused. "But that is exactly why we understand the value of peace." The chamber fell silent. Every eye was on him. "You," Hyunwoo said, gesturing at the council, "have lived in peace for so long that you have forgotten what it costs. You have become soft. When the Crawl attacked that station, you could not respond. Your nearest ships were days away. Days, those people would have died and you would have filed a report and moved on. But we did respond. We broke your rules, yes. We used force, yes. But we saved lives. And I will not apologize for that. If this council believes that following rules is more important than protecting the innocent, then this council is broken." Chaos erupted. Half the council was shouting. Some in agreement, some in anger. It took several minutes for Velshara to restore order. In the viewing section, Daun suddenly noticed something on her datapad. She had been reviewing the Crawl ship's logs, which had been recovered from the wreckage. There was something strange in the data. The Crawl had been communicating with someone before the attack. Someone had told them where to find the research station. Someone had helped them. She traced the signal. Her eyes widened. The communication had come from inside council space. From a military-grade transmitter. She dug deeper, and what she found made her blood run cold. The signal had come from the hegemony. Draxnor's people had hired the Crawl to attack the station. They had done it to destabilize the Outer Rim. They wanted an excuse to expand their military presence. And now they were using humanity as a scapegoat. Dayun stood up. "High Arbiter, I have evidence. I have proof of a conspiracy." Velshara looked at her. "Present your evidence, Lieutenant." Daun transmitted the data to the council's main screen. The communications logs appeared. The routing information. The payment records, everything. "The Crawl did not attack that station by chance," Dayun said. "They were hired. They were paid by the hegemony. Councillor Draxnor's faction arranged the attack. They wanted to create chaos. They wanted to justify military expansion, and now they're trying to blame humanity for cleaning up their mess." Draxnor's face twisted with rage. "This is a lie. A human fabrication." But the evidence was undeniable. Council security forces moved toward Draxnor. The councillor tried to flee, but he was surrounded. Within minutes he was in custody. The council chamber erupted in chaos again. This was unprecedented. A councillor arrested for war crimes. The scandal would shake the galaxy. High Arbiter Velshara stood. Her voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Silence. This council will have order." When silence fell, she looked at Hyunwoo. "Commander Kim, this council finds that you acted within the bounds of necessity. You saved innocent lives. You exposed corruption. However, your methods were extreme. Therefore, Earth will remain in the council, but with restrictions. You must limit military expansion. You must accept council observers on your ships. These terms are non-negotiable." Hyunwoo nodded slowly. "We accept." As they left the council chamber, Dr. Jiho put a hand on Hyunwoo's shoulder. "We did it. We're staying in the council. For now," Hyunwoo said. "But this isn't over. The galaxy is watching us. Every move we make from here on will define how humanity is seen for generations." Later that night, as the crew prepared to leave Zentara Prime, Dr. Jiho received a strange message on his personal communicator. It was text only, no sender identification. The message was short and terrifying. The real war is coming. The crawl were just the beginning. Something worse is out there, and it's heading this way. Jiho stared at the message. His hands began to shake. He looked out the window at the stars and wondered what horror was coming. 6 months had passed since the trial. The galaxy had changed in that time. Earth's fleet had grown. More ships were being built every day. More crews were being trained. The council watched nervously but said nothing. The restrictions they had imposed were meaningless. Humanity was preparing for war. Admiral Heiwan Kang stood in Earth's orbital command center looking at a star map. She was 50 years old with iron-gray hair and hard eyes. She had fought in every major conflict Earth had seen in the last 20 years. Now she commanded humanity's entire space fleet. It was a small fleet compared to the Council's forces, but it was growing. "Show me the dead zones again," she ordered. The star map changed. Red markers appeared, spreading like a disease across the outer edge of the galaxy. Each marker represented a system that had gone silent. No communications. No signals, nothing. In the last 6 months, 47 systems had vanished. That was over 200 billion lives. The Council still thinks it's just communication failures, her aide said. Heiwan shook her head. The Council is in denial. They don't want to believe the threat is real. They've had peace for too long. They've forgotten that peace has to be defended. What about the Indomitable? They're our best ship. I'm sending them to investigate. If anyone can find out what's happening out there, it's Commander Kim and his crew. The Indomitable had been upgraded. New weapons. Better shields. More powerful engines. The ship that had fought the crawl was now twice as deadly. But as Hyunwoo stood on the bridge looking at their destination, he felt uneasy. "We're approaching the Lixar system," Daun reported. "It went dark 3 days ago. Population was 8 billion. Mixed species colony. They were supposed to send a daily update. They didn't. Any signs of ships?" Hyunwoo asked. "Nothing. The system looks completely empty." They entered the system carefully. What they found made Hyunwoo's blood run cold. The colony world was still there, but it was dead. The cities were ruins. The atmosphere was thick with ash. The oceans were boiling. Whatever had attacked this place had not just killed the inhabitants. It had sterilized the entire planet. Dr. Jiho studied the sensor readings with shaking hands. "This is impossible. The energy required to do this, it's beyond anything we've ever seen. This isn't a weapon. This is... I don't know what this is. Can we land?" Hyunwoo asked. "No," Jiho said. "The radiation levels are lethal. Nothing could survive down there." "Not anymore," Dayan suddenly tensed. "Sir, I'm detecting something. Massive energy signature. Distance 1 million kilometers and closing fast. Battle stations," Hyunwoo ordered. A ship emerged from hyperspace, but calling it a ship was like calling a hurricane a breeze. It was enormous, 10 kilometers long, maybe more. Its hull was black, darker than space itself. Strange organic structures covered its surface, pulsing with sickly green light. "What is that thing?" Dayan whispered. "I don't know," Hyunwoo said. "Try to hail them." Daun sent out a standard greeting on all frequencies. There was no response. The massive ship simply hung in space, silent and ominous. Then it attacked. There was no warning. One moment there was nothing. The next moment space itself seemed to tear apart. A beam of pure darkness lanced out from the alien ship. It hit the Indomitable's shields and passed straight through them like they didn't exist. The beam struck the hull and started to disintegrate it. Alarm screamed. The ship shook violently. Hyunwoo gripped his chair. "Return fire. Everything we have." Railguns fired. Missiles launched. Every weapon the Indomitable had unleashed at once. The projectiles hit the alien ship and simply vanished. They didn't bounce off. They didn't explode. They just disappeared as if they had never existed. "No effect," Dayan shouted. "Our weapons aren't working." Another beam lanced out. This one hit the Indomitable's port side. Metal screamed. Atmosphere vented into space. Damage reports flooded in from all over the ship. "We can't fight this thing," Jiho said. "We have to run." Hyunwoo hated to retreat. Every instinct told him to stand and fight. But Jiho was right. They were outmatched. If they stayed, they would die, and the galaxy would never know what happened here. "Get us out of here. Maximum speed now." The Indomitable's engines roared to life. The ship turned and ran. Behind them, the alien vessel did not pursue. It simply hung in space, watching them flee. They jumped to hyperspace. Only when the stars became streaks did Hyunwoo allow himself to breathe. He looked around the bridge. His crew looked shaken. They had faced the crawl and won. But this was different. This was terror. Damage report, he said quietly. Sung Min's voice came over the intercom. He sounded shaken, which was unusual for him. Port side is heavily damaged. Hull breaches on 3 decks. We lost 6 people. Weapons are mostly intact, but our shields are at 40% and dropping. Whatever that beam was, it's still eating away at our systems. Da-Yun pulled up her tactical analysis. I recorded everything. I got scans of that ship. Its energy signature is unlike anything in our database. The way it warped space? It's like the ship exists in multiple dimensions at once. We need to report this to Earth immediately, Hyunwoo said. And to the Council. They need to know what we're facing. The transmission reached Earth 12 hours later. Admiral Haewon watched the recording of the alien ship in silence. When it finished, she sat very still for a long time. Send this to every ship in the fleet, she finally said, and transmit it to the Council. Tell them we need an emergency session. Tell them the threat is real. But the Council's response was disappointing. High Arbiter Velshara acknowledged the report but took no action. Many Council species refused to believe the recording was real. They thought it was a human fabrication, an attempt to gain more power in the Council. Others simply did not want to face the truth. For 100,000 years, the galaxy had been at peace. They could not accept that the peace was ending. Hyunwoo received orders from Admiral Haewon. The Indomitable was to be repaired and rearmed. They would need it soon. Because the alien ships, whatever they were still advancing. More systems went dark every day. The dead zone was spreading. Dr. Ji-ho spent days analyzing the data they had collected. He barely slept. He barely ate. He was obsessed with understanding what they had encountered. Finally, he came to Hyunwoo's quarters late one night. He looked exhausted. His hands trembled as he held out a data pad. I found something, Ji-ho said. I've been comparing the alien ship's trajectory with the pattern of dead systems. They're not moving randomly. They're following the old hyperspace routes, the ancient ones that the first Council species used. What does that mean? Hyunwoo asked. It means they know where they're going. They have a target. And based on their current path, Ji-ho's voice broke. They're heading toward the core systems, toward Zentara Prime, toward the heart of the galaxy, and Earth is directly in their path. Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. How long do we have? At their current speed? 6 months. Maybe less, 6 months. 6 months to prepare for something that could destroy entire worlds. 6 months to convince the Council to act. 6 months to save the galaxy. Ambassador Thalrix was one of the few Council members who believed the human reports. He came to see Hyunwoo in person, traveling all the way to the Indomitable. My people will stand with Earth, Thalrix said. We are not warriors like you. We have no great fleets, but we will do what we can. Other species are also listening. The Ven Collective is not alone in believing you. Thank you, Hyunwoo said, but I fear it won't be enough. The Council needs to mobilize, all of them. This enemy is unlike anything the galaxy has faced. Then we must make them see, Thalrix said, before it's too late. 1 week later, the alien fleet was detected heading toward a heavily populated system. It was called Lixtara, and it was home to 15 billion people. The Council forces in the area were minimal. The system would fall in hours. Hyunwoo received a direct transmission from Admiral Haewon. Her face was grim. Commander, I know your ship isn't fully repaired. I know you've been through hell. But I need you to go to Lixtara. Take whatever allies you can gather. Hold the line. Buy us time to mobilize the fleet. Hyunwoo looked at his crew. Da-Yun nodded. Ji-ho took a deep breath and nodded. Even Sung Min through the intercom growled his agreement. We'll be there, Hyunwoo said. We'll hold the line. The Indomitable set course for Lixtara. Behind them, a small fleet of allied ships followed. The Ven Collective had sent 3 ships. 2 other minor species had contributed vessels. It was not much. Against what was coming, it was almost nothing. But it was a start. For the first time in millennia, different species were uniting for war, and humanity was leading them.